So, first, I want to hear from you. Can anyone share? We're going to talk today about effective time management strategies. And so, I would love to know uh, when do you typically find yourself most productive? Is it in the morning or in the afternoon? Have you reflected on that? All day. You're productive all day, Hala. I love that. You're awesome. That's the manager in you getting things done. Personally, for me, I find that after reflecting, I'm more creative in the morning. After I, come into work, I have that first cup of coffee. So that's the time that I kind of dedicate maybe for those more creatively inclined tasks. Yeah, busy practice cannot lack. You have to be on top of it. Absolutely. And I hope that some of these strategies can help make any improvements for you today. Um, can anyone share maybe for those that would like to share a recent challenge that you faced with your to-do list? Maybe it was uninterrupted tasks or just a particular challenge. Would you like to share that? A challenge with your to-do list this week? Right. No challenges. I love that. That means that we are all on task. Well, let's see if we can maybe make some improvements to our time management strategies. So first and foremost, we're going to prioritize. These are the essentials for time management. These few slides here. So this box is called the Eisenhower box or Eisenhower matrix. And what this does is it helps you to categorize your tasks based on their urgency and importance into four quadrants. So urgent and important, those are your tasks that require immediate attention. Maybe that's your payroll deadline or your compliance audits. Those things are due today. And then you're not urgent. Maybe they are important, but they can be pushed they'll be done next. Those are going to be maybe your staff training or your policy updates. They are important, but they can be scheduled for a time that works within your schedule. Urgent but not important. These are tasks that you can actually delegate maybe to other team members. Maybe it's answering routine patient inquiries. These things can be trained for your staff and allows you to focus on more complex areas of your practice. And then not urgent and not important. These are things that you can eliminate altogether. You can postpone them. Maybe they're unnecessary meetings, or maybe it's a goal that hasn't been defined. You can punt that or move that to a date that's not super important. And then time blocking. This is a strategy for setting blocks of time for different tasks or categories throughout your day. So this method really reduces that multitasking or squirrel jumping, I guess it would be the best way to say it. You're jumping from task to task, but not really getting anything done. Maybe in this example, this is maybe dedicating your morning to payroll task and having a couple of meetings that you block in right after that. But you stick to these time blocked schedules to help you set boundaries on your schedule and to make sure that they're most efficient. Make sure you're getting in that break in your schedule. That's going to be very important for work-life balance and resetting, refreshing. And then maybe your afternoon could be administrative tasks, emails, end of day wrap up, or maybe even you're using that time to prioritize the next day or reach out to your team to see if they need support. Very important as well. This is time boxing. So this is where you're setting a fixed time period to an activity. So for example, you start working on this activity, it's set for maybe 30 minutes, and then you stop working on it altogether, regardless of whether it was completed or not. This can kind of help you prevent perfectionism or maybe getting too lost in the weeds, making something look extra pretty or refining down too much. You're just going to maybe set a timer for 30 minutes and to resolve patient billing inquiries, for an example. You're not going to get all of those calls done in 30 minutes, but you're going to chip away and make those tasks a little bit more manageable when you come back to them. You've already done 10 calls. Now you can do 10 more. And you have that sense of accomplishment that you've done. And so again, these three, there's many different time management, but these three are really the kind of essentials in creating a really good frame for your managing your day. And then this one, I really would like to kind of to dive in a little bit deeper, maybe. So delegate responsibilities. We had mentioned that in the prioritizing tasks, but it empowers your team to take on certain tasks that will lighten your workload and develop their skills. Very important. You know, maybe you have a team member. We've talked about championing someone that maybe isn't quite as much of a participant. Maybe you take that person and you have them do your inventory, and they become a master at making sure that you have everything you need for your weekly, for your schedule in the week. This will allow you to focus more on those complex responsibilities. And, it really does make you a good leader when you can delegate some of your tasks. And again, to create leaders within your practice. So we do have some advanced techniques that I want to share with you, but I'm going to pause right here because I think that this is a really good, effective way at managing tasks, because I'll share a little story about myself. I will take on way too much responsibility. And so I learned that I had to empower my team, bring them on to help me, and trust that they were going to take on that responsibility. And that takes time. You have to have frequent checkpoints with them. You want to make sure that you're giving them all the tools that they can to do that job effectively. And so I'm going to stop here. I'm going to ask, what tasks do you typically find yourself delegating within your practice? I would really love to hear from you on this one. We have a lot here today. Hi, Andre, you're new. I love seeing you on today. That's great. Thank you so much. And Jackie, Hal, I see that you do. Wonderful. So you have a different tasks for your MAs monthly. Awesome. Can you give me an example of that? An example of what you do to give your MAs monthly for tasks. How do you decide what's delegated? What's most important? I think that's another question that you can ask yourself. Which tasks can you take off your plate? Or maybe it's just a portion of your task. You get them, have your staff help you with a research project, or maybe you ask them to pull a specific report and then you can kind of refine it as a manager. These are all very powerful tools in advancing your team or implementing improvements. So let's move on to those advanced techniques. So we learned about time boxing. We learned about, the Eisenhower method, which is those standard time management tools. But what are some more advanced techniques? Task theming. This is where, this is where you're organizing your schedule by specific days or times, as mentioned before, but this is a specific day rather than context switching or switching from a task to task throughout your day. You can spend the entire day. Maybe you do Mondays for administrative tasks. That's where you're checking all of your staff reviews, upcoming compliance issues, or compliance renewals, et cetera. Tuesdays could be for patient communication and making sure that all your no-show rates have a technique and they're being followed up. Whatever it is, I think task theming could work for a practice. Maybe some of you are already doing something like that in your practice. And I think it is a very effective tool. This was one that I thought was very interesting. It was kind of new as I was doing my research for today's presentation. I found this 3-3-3 method, and personally, I felt like it might help me in some of my day-to-day tasks. So this is three tasks that you complete today, three for the week and three for the month. It's just setting the tone for the week, or pardon me, for the month, so that you can prioritize based on the goals. So for example, maybe you could complete your quarterly compliance audit. That's going to be done in March. So I'm going to make sure that that gets done before March 31st, whatever my deadline is. Maybe your weekly task could be that you review staff certifications, and it's that 3x3x3 method. You can even break it down by day. You could do 3 hours in the day for a particular task. I mean, we've talked about that. A lot of these are going to be intertwined in some way. Sometimes maybe it's a Monday, you used your blocking method. Maybe it's Tuesday, you use more of a task batching. But either way, you want to try to have some organizational frame to your day for the most productivity. Another option is the 2-minute rule. I like this one. I think this should be applied every single day, no matter what. If a task takes less than 2 minutes, do it now. I'm going to read some of the don'ts there. Don't procrastinate. Don't add it to your task list. This is a good one, because the time that it takes for you to try to add it to your task list so you don't forget it, you could have already done it. You could have made that quick call. You could have checked that email. So the 2-minute rule should be applied throughout the day, throughout your schedule. And then this one is probably the most probably well understood and used amongst big projects. So this is your SMART goals. These are setting specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, and time-bound. So you want to make sure that these are clearly aligned. What is your goal? Do you have a time frame for completing that goal? Do you want to make sure that it's possible? You know, is it too broad? Is it not well defined? And then, of course, setting a deadline. Very important to have a deadline. I'm going to give you an example here. So a goal might be that you want to increase your patient satisfaction scores by 15% in 6 months by implementing a feedback system. So let's break that down. This is very specific. You know, you want to have a percentage so it's measurable over the 6-month time. It's achievable because broken down, say it's 2,000 patients, 15% target would be 300 patients, maybe roughly. Over the 6-month time, that's 50 patients a month, 12 patients a week. That is achievable because, 12 patients, 300 patients seems overwhelming, but 12 a week is attainable. And that could look like maybe your staff they have a goal at checkout. If they understand this goal, that it's the broad overall SMART goal of the practice, we want to do this, increase our satisfaction, and then give them ways to do that at the checkout. Thank them for completing their satisfaction score. Ask them how their visit was with Dr. Smith. Whatever the case may be, you can increase those through these SMART techniques. Let's see. So do we have any questions before? Those are just, there's 1,000,001 techniques out there for managing your time effectively. But, with all of these, we need to have some flexibility and balance. So I'm going to stop right here. And I would love to know, how do you handle interruptions in your workday? These are going to happen in a busy medical practice. You have so many different variables. You're stepping in to cover a staff that is out sick, or maybe it's that you lost an employee and now you're covering for that person. How do you handle those interruptions in your workday? Remember, unmute and show your beautiful smiling faces. It's Valentine's Day. I want to see your lovely faces. Jessica, I'm so glad you're back on the call today. How do you handle those interruptions? I know you work remote, so you have a little bit of a unique perspective, but we all get them. So how do you handle those in your workday?
For me, I'm sorry I can't show my beautiful face today. I
That's
apologize.
okay.
But
Another time.
happy Valentine's Day, everyone.
Thank you.
For myself, because I do work from home, I utilize two computers. One
Mhm.
is automatically focused on any communications with staff members um, that I toggle throughout the day. Another thing I use is a tablet that has
Mhm.
a notebook attached to it. So that's a way that I can keep track. I used to
Mhm.
love stickies, but stickies
Mhm.
go everywhere and stickies can get lost. But the notebook that I use that has the access, I can type in a specific word and it will look through all my notes for that specific word. So in case I got off track at a certain time, I could always type that in and it will locate it for me and I can go back to that.
Mhm.
One thing I started this year because I felt I still wasn't as organized. I purchased this little thing off of Etsy, and it was a basically an organizer, kind of like it has my to-do task. So I just do like a brain dump either in the morning or before I leave, um, of things, tasks that I forgot to do or tasks that I think I should look into. And then after I type those in, when I get in the morning, I'm able to look at that and set it just like you said, put some dates of when I should have that done and completed. And it populates on a calendar. So I can see it in a calendar view of like, okay, that's coming up. I need to make sure that deadline that gets done before then, or at least by that time. But that's a way that I
Yes.
try to keep organized and focused on different tasks. My phone is always off the hook. So
Mhm.
ultimately, I think the notebook saves my life. I have
I was
that
gonna
little,
say you handle it's funny because I thought maybe you didn't, but you have interruptions all day long. It's
yes,
because of all these different ways. So I love that. And I agree with you. Stickies, that used to be my go-to. And you just realize that, they could be too maybe not quite detailed enough, or
right.
you write that sticky and you're like, what did I mean by that? I think what you're doing there is a great idea. Having that notepad that allows you to do an instant search. Great idea.
Yeah,
Thank you so much for sharing.
no problem.
Thank you. Yeah. So another way that I think that we can also add to that is, maybe reserving the end of the day. If you've had a day where you had nothing but interruptions, and you just didn't get anything done, or maybe it was that you couldn't, you had to step in and work and help a staff member, you maybe reserve the last hour of your day to address these items that require attention. So again, just do the best you can. Whatever happens, yesterday, tomorrow or the next day is a new day, so don't ever forget that. So the next one is the adjust as needed. This is obviously important. You want to make sure, again, with those interruptions, that you're preparing to adjust your schedule if you need to. If a task takes longer, shift it by 15 or 30 minutes, but don't overhaul your entire day. Don't let those interruptions ruin your day. Just make an adjustment. You just kind of push along as you need to. I love this one. Schedule personal time. Make sure that you're adding that, 15-minute break every hour, taking a lunch break. This is maintaining a healthy work-life balance. We stress this on our employees. We stress this on our staff. We require them to take their breaks. We should require this of us too. So managers and those that are just working, make sure you're taking a little time for yourself. I find that to be of the utmost importance. And then back to what we were saying, adjusting as needed. I would say review and adjust on a weekly basis. I think reflecting on your performance, would help to identify any strategies or necessary adjustments for improvement. Jessica had mentioned that she does that sort of brain dump so that she knows this is a great way to review what was working, what wasn't working. How can I adjust the following week so that I can get these tasks accomplished? Again, maybe it is pulling one of your staff members in to help a little bit to achieve those goals. There's nothing wrong with that. In fact, it's highly effective. Maybe another way is to review those weekly staff meetings. We talked about effective meetings. Maybe it's to make those adjustments so that you can improve communication amongst your staff. And then, of course, with that, clear communication system is very important. Jessica mentioned she's got that Teams instantly that her team can reach out to her. I really appreciate that. I think sharing those things, having a communication system, it prevents misunderstanding. It helps to, make sure that there's clear communication, reduces time spent to clarify tasks. If you're just sending emails back and forth, pick up the phone. Let's talk about this. Something's getting lost in translation. You've taken so much more time rather than just giving that clear communication right up front. And so, like she said, her tracking system, her patients, or rather her team can access her at any time. That is a clear communication method.